Welcome to this year's virtual banquet. We'd like to start off by thanking all of you, our donors, our churches, and our volunteers for making Miracle Hill possible each and every day. We'd also like to thank our championship sponsors for our virtual banquet here tonight. Ron Blue Trust, Walker and Whitesides, Palmetto Farms Foundation, as well as Jeff Lynch Appliance and TV Center. We want to spend a little bit of time tonight talking about where God took us through this past year, as well as where we think He's going in the year to come. I think if everybody had a summary of the past year, the first thing that they would say is COVID. But certainly we would point to God's grace. Certainly COVID's not been without its challenges. We've had to pivot and move in the midst of the pandemic, but God has been faithful through it all. We've operated 2 different quarantine shelters in the midst of this. The first one was right here at the Greenville Rescue Mission early on in the pandemic, where many of our staff members raised their hands and were willing to go serve in the midst of a very, very scary situation. Later on in the year, we had the opportunity to open up a quarantine shelter off-site in partnership with the United Housing Connection and Prisma, as well as the Phoenix Center and other partners, which has provided a way for people who are experiencing homelessness as well as struggling with COVID to have a safe place to go for housing as well as medical attention. God's blessings have been amazing throughout the entire year. We actually ended the year in a better financial position than we started the year. God protected our staff and our guests throughout the whole thing, and although we've had our fair share of COVID cases with both staff and guests, the vast majority of those cases have been mild, and we've been blessed that hundreds of our staff and guests have been vaccinated to this point. Our thrift stores, who Governor McMaster closed down early on in the year, actually wound up having a record-setting year in sales, and the sales have continued to stay strong into this new year. Many of you know that we've worked to pivot our children's ministry over the past year and a half, where we focused for years and years on residential children's care, and now we're moving to where we focus primarily on foster care. Our children's home, which served thousands of kids over decades, has been transitioned into a foster care community where we have 3 cottages where amazing foster parents have committed to stay, and they're open to having 5 teenagers in need of foster care within their homes. If you don't know, teens and sibling groups is the greatest need for foster care in South Carolina today. The heroes of this entire past year, though, have been our staff. Through all the troubles that we have experienced, they've kept Miracle Hill humming, oftentimes putting themselves into harm's way. Our thankfulness to them is immense. God has been our refuge and strength through it all, and the staff's effort has been absolutely tremendous. Now let's turn and look at what's going on today as well as what we're looking forward to here in the future. On average, we're still serving around 450 individuals each and every night. We have over 150 children in foster care on each night. And just over Easter, amazingly, we had a group of men from the Overcomers program, as well as a group of women from Renewal, proclaim their decision for Christ with believers' baptism. God is always on the move. If you don't know, we believe deeply in transitional housing. So when people are exiting a shelter or they're exiting one of our programs, we want to provide a safe, affordable place for them to go and live. So over the past few years, we've been building houses behind our Overcomer Center, and we've just finished the final 4 houses, which means we have 8 houses total, right tucked back behind the Overcomer Center for graduates of the program to go when they're ready to move on to the next phase of their life. This has opened up an opportunity for us to reallocate some of our existing houses to other programs and shelters. Shepherd's Gate is the recipient of one of those houses. So for the very first time, we have a transitional house for women and potentially women with their children that are exiting from Shepherd's Gate and wanting to move to the next phase. Amazingly, a group of Leadership Greenville participants agreed to sponsor this project and have raised funds so we can renovate the home and they can have a beautiful place to move into once it's finished. Also, the Greenville Rescue Mission is the recipient of one of those houses, which means that their total of transitional bed opportunities is up to 16. And that also means that each adult shelter and/or program now has at least one transitional house and many more in some cases where people can transition to once they have stabilized within our shelters and programs. If you don't know, we also operate 2 social enterprises. Bridgeworks is a traditional staffing company, but it's aimed at finding jobs for our guests as well as the general public. Creation Works is a landscaping company with some staff from our shelters as well as people from the general public. So if you need a job, you need a place, you need to place some employees at your business, or you're looking for landscaping for your business, please go to one of the websites listed down at the bottom of the screen and let us help you as we help the people that we have in our care. Over the past year or more, we've been focusing on a video series we call Stories of Rescue. You're going to see one of those stories of rescue in just a few minutes. Basically, the idea is we want to celebrate what God is doing in the lives of our guests, our foster families, and other opportunities that He's been working throughout the ministry. We are so excited that as the pandemic draws to a close, that we can welcome back many of you into the volunteer opportunities that you've been excited about returning to for many, many, many months. One of the new opportunities that we're looking at is volunteer drivers. So as you can imagine, if somebody's going through a life change process, they need to get to medical appointments and job opportunities and all different service providers. Oftentimes, unfortunately, our counselors and our case managers have to get into the van and drive people around all day. So we're opening up more opportunities for many of you to come in, partner with us, and create relationship with our guests as they move towards life change while you drive them around to needed services and opportunities for them to grow in their faith and in their life. Again, God is ever on the move at Miracle Hill. We have been and continue to be committed to serving all people and loving them in the name of Jesus. Whether it's a pandemic, economic hardship, addiction, or experienced trauma, each person enters a relationship with us will find a warm smile and the love of Christ. Each of you who received our mailer found an air freshener in the shape of the sign directly behind me with a pleasing aroma. Not only that, but it has a QR code on the back, which if you scan it, it'll take you to the story of rescue we're going to watch in just a few minutes. The scriptures say in 2 Corinthians 2:15, "For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing." Our prayer is that as the air freshener brings joy to the inside of your vehicle, you'll think of us, you'll pray often for us, and you'll thank God on our behalf for the guests we have the privilege to serve each and every day. We got extra ones, so if you want some more, please give us a call. Now, I'm amazed to announce this awesome story of rescue about Kirby. Enjoy.
I had two loving parents and two brothers. My cousins, we all grew up really close together. I had a very best friend, Rebecca, and we were always together. And she died in a house fire, and I was there, and I got out, and she didn't. And that's when I really just kind of lost it. When you lose your best friend and you don't have a relationship with God, like, what's one to do, you know? So I just drank. By the time I graduated, I was a full-blown alcoholic. And I got married. We did pretty good. We bought a house and went to church, and then I had a miscarriage and did not know how to grieve. I didn't have a relationship with God. I did not know what that looked like. I was just done. I was angry at God for taking the baby. And this was about the time that like the economy crashed and everything. We had just bought a house. He lost his job. Like everything just, it was like everything fell apart at one time. And we just resorted to drugs. It was just it was a train wreck. So then I got pregnant again, and when I was 6 months pregnant, we got arrested, completely strung out on opiates. Ruthie was born healthy, which is a huge miracle, you know. Paul had to move to Denver for work, and she was 6 months old. And I was like, yeah, I'm not moving to Denver, and we were so toxic for each other. So we got divorced, and he's been clean ever since. They did a hair follicle test, and I lost complete custody of her. And short of her dying, that was the absolute worst thing that could have ever happened to me.
How do we get to the end of ourselves? Coming into a shelter is often the last thing anybody wants to do. When your life is filled with pain and regret and fear and trauma, the weight of that door is often immense. In our isolation, it's often too much for us to bear.
My family was reaching out, but I was done with them. I didn't want to be around anybody. And my cousin David went through Overcomers. He would send me a message like once a week or every other week. I love you. When you're ready, just let me know. Friday night, David goes to Overcomers for their worship. I guess they have like a little get together on Friday nights. So he went and he had 65, 70 men, however many were there, get down on their hands and knees and just pour out their heart for me. I was just done all of a sudden. And now I know it's because of those prayers, you know? In that moment, I didn't even know what I was doing. I sent him a text, I'm ready, come and get me. That Monday, my parents went and got me, and I went to detox. They dropped me off at this, David picked me up from detox. He brought me here.
Kirby, like many of our guests, needed help. She needed someone to help her make a decision to come into the light and out from the dark. Certainly she needed food and shelter with compassion, but we all know that she needed something more. She needed Jesus. Isn't the power of prayer amazing? The fact that David's prayer and the prayer of the Overcomers are now part of Kirby's story. What a lesson to all the men here in the Overcomer Center, as well as to all of us, that God hears our cries that we elicit on each other's behalf.
I was here for like 6 or 8 weeks. I went to renewal in August, gave my life to the Lord. I never felt the love of Jesus until I came to Shepherd's Gate. I didn't know what that unconditional, like without expectations, just love, you know, was. My life has just not been the same. Like I don't look the same. I'm a new creation in Christ, you know. I accepted Christ at Open Heart Baptist Church. And people just pour into you, like these selfless people. Like Sherry Miller, she started teaching us here, and she goes all the way through renewal with you. Like, we don't know how to live. Ms. Menda is like a vacuum cleaner and pulls stuff out that you didn't even know was in there. But I would really say the grief, because just not knowing how to, like she's really helped me with that a lot.
Kirby grew up learning to shove things down, to just sweep it under the rug and move on. And I think that one of the big things she's learned is that you've got to lift up the rug and look at what crumbs you've got there and bring them out and actually get rid of them.
Say your name and what you do here at Shepherd's Gate.
Okay, I'm Kirby Murdaugh, and I'm an intern here at Shepherd's Gate.
Well, I'll fix y'all's plate. I don't want no beans. Why? I love this for you.
So I graduated renewal in March, and I came here. I wanted to serve here. This place changed my life, and I've been here since then, serving the ladies, and it's not always fun. I mean, this is like the front lines, I guess you would call it, of ministry, you know? But there's nowhere else I would rather be. God's just restored. He's restored so much for me. My relationship with my daughter, my brothers. God has just over and abundantly just really changed my life. I mean, Miracle Hill has just changed my whole family. Right now, God is just, He blows my mind. Like every day, He blows my mind. What God's really just is my relationship with my ex-husband and his wife. I stay with them. When I go out there, I mean, I stay with my ex-husband and his wife and my daughter. I mean, they make me feel at home. Like, it's nothing but God. It's definitely nothing I did.
Isn't God good? He restores the broken. He builds bridges to healthy relationships that were once destroyed. Kirby's now serving right here at Shepherd's Gate, the same place that she came to receive services. 1 Peter 4:10 says, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. God's now using Kirby as a tool of His grace to deliver it. She was wounded and in need of help, and now He's equipping her every day to be a helper to those that are wounded. She has become His hands and feet to the next generation of people that are broken and in need of help.
And this is what I tell them. I've got the answer to addiction for you. Isaiah 26:3. He will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on Him, because you trust Him. When we're fearful, when we're anxious, when we're angry, when frustrated, when we can't figure out something quickly enough, and that's when we start grabbing the chocolate or grabbing the pain pills or grabbing the alcohol or whatever. But when we fix our mind on Him, He brings peace.
1 Peter 2:9, you're a royal priesthood, a city set up on a hilltop. That's one of my favorites too, because it also talks about pulling you out of the darkness into His marvelous light. And He definitely pulled me out of midnight into His very marvelous light when I just surrendered everything and just that complete and utter dependence on Him.
Isn't God good? Kirby isn't the only one though. Right here tonight at the Greenville Rescue Mission, there may be up to 140 men sleeping and hundreds more throughout the ministry. We are wholly committed to standing in the gap and on the gospel because we believe that is what matters most and what changes life. No matter the shifting tides of the culture around us, we are committed to loving like Jesus and introducing each person to Him. He is worthy of our trust as He's shown all of us in our lives and has shown us this past year. He alone brings true healing to our lives as well as the lives of the guests God brings our way each day. We couldn't have gotten through the past year without your amazing commitment to the ministry. Your prayers are felt each and every day and your support has been amazing. One last quick story. Last year, a man that we'll call Howard came to the Spartanburg Rescue Mission after a lifetime in prison. He didn't know how to live, he didn't know what to do, but he was certainly in need of a friend and came searching for one. In this divine appointment, chance encounter with two of Miracle Hill's board members, Howard came to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. Early this year, however, Howard passed away from COVID. Now the story's sad, but the story has a happy ending because Howard chose to trust Jesus. He is now experiencing his real life with Christ. He has no pain or struggle, he's not in prison, and he is worshiping the Creator as one of His children. Stories of life change like that can be found each day at Miracle Hill. Each of you has been part of that story. God didn't use a Miracle Hill staff member. Let me point to that again. He didn't use a Miracle Hill staff member to present the gospel. He used two individuals just like you whose hearts were open to the move of the Spirit and who volunteered at Miracle Hill. You all are part of Howard's story already as well, in that you helped provide the food and the shelter with compassion that drew Howard to Miracle Hill. Thank you for your constant support. I'd invite you to join us again this year in providing shelter, food, and miracles each and every day. You can give online at miraclehill.org/donate or call our offices tonight to donate over the phone. We have our staff online at the office near the phones till 7:30 tonight, and they're ready to receive your call and also ready to pray with you for any issues that you may have. So you can use the number at the bottom of the screen or the address at the bottom of the screen to mail in a gift. I just want to end by again saying thank you for all that you do for us each and every year. God bless you all, and thank you for joining us tonight.